For today's video, we will be learning all about the worksheet. Okay? So, please bear with me if shaky ang akong video kay ang gigamit na akong cellphone is dili katong high-end. Charot. Okay, so for this activity, in preparing your journal entry, also please bear with me if there are some noises na madunggan ninyo. So for this activity, we will have the Remedios Palaguas Gourmet Food. Okay, so the adjusting entries are already nakahuman or nagawa ko na yung adjusting entries, as you can see. So in writing your adjusting entries, they are all the same in the basic writing in the general journal. So this is your debit, this is your credit, and this is your explanation. And then this is your debit and your credit amounts. Okay. For the date, for the adjusting entries, directly you will use the date December 31 if it is the date given in your activity. So as you can see, this is the problema, no? The unadjusted trial balance of Remedios Palaganas Gourmet Food for December 31, 2015. So that is why the date in your adjusting entries are on December 31. So ni-ready ko na yung adjusting entries because I have a separate videos on the explanation on how you will analyze your adjusting entries and how you will create the adjusting entries and how you will get the amounts of each of the adjusting entries or the given problem. Now we will proceed to the worksheet of this problem. So first, this is the problem. So this one is the unadjusted trial balance, meaning hindi pa siya adjusted na trial balance. Gagamitin mo pa tong mga given additional information which are the adjusting entries, then you will provide the adjustment which is kanina napakita ko na, and then the complete worksheet. Okay, so this is your worksheet. So ganyan siya kalaki. This is a 14 column worksheet. So bear with me if shaky ang video. Okay. In your worksheet, ito ang mga heading. Sa dito na side, you will write the account title. For the first two column, the 1 and 2 column, ang iyong ilalagay is the unadjusted trial balance. So unadjusted trial balance, and then you will write the debit and the credit. Next, on the column 3 and 4, you will write the adjustments, then the debit and the credit. And on the column 5 and 6, you will write the adjusted trial balance, and then the debit and the credit. Next is the balance sheet. For the column, it's the income statement. Okay. Hindi ko dala yung correction tape ko. So, advisable class that you will use pencil para kung may mga erasers na ganito, hindi dili gubot ang inyong worksheet. So, this is your income statement, the debit, and then the credit. Lastly, for the column 9 and 10 is the balance sheet, the debit and the credit. So that is your headings for your worksheet. Now we will proceed on writing the account title. As you notice, this is your unadjusted trial balance. So this unadjusted trial balance is you will copy this one to your worksheet dito. So you have your adjusting entries. Some of the accounts here on adjusting entries are not present on your unadjusted trial balance. So, if you are to write this na, dapat mag-base din kayo sa adjustment ninyo ng mga entry. For example, sige, we will start with the cash, the accounts receivable, prepaid, cooking supplies, and land. Okay. So, you write your cash, accounts receivable, prepaid rent, cooking supplies, and then land. Next is the building. So if galibog mo asa ko ga-base, dire ra gid ko ga-base kaning unadjusted trial balance ni given sa problem. Okay. Then as you notice, wala pa namang asset here, right? Wala pa namang asset na given dito sa adjusted adjusting entries nyo. So, remember, when you are writing your trial balances, even if it is unadjusted trial balance or adjusted trial balance, you need to write it in the order of assets, liabilities, owner's equity, income, and expense. So, you will write the accumulated depreciation. Copy nyo lang yung nasa unadjusted trial balance nyo for building, accumulated depreciation for building, and then cooking equipment, and then accumulated depreciation for cooking equipment, and then your notes payable and your accounts payable. Okay, when we go back to your adjusting entries, meron tayong payable na mga accounts dito na hindi present sa unadjusted trial balance. These are salaries payable and interest payable. Because as you can see, notes payable and accounts payable lang ang meron. So, insert mo si salaries payable and interest payable. So, salaries payable and interest payable. So, wala nang payable dito sa adjusting mo. So, you will proceed to the next accounts, which are your equity, the Palaganas Capital and Palaganas Withdrawal. Okay. Palaganas Capital and Palaganas Withdrawal. Now, next is the revenue account, which is the gourmet cooking revenue. Shaky akong kamot class. Cooking revenue. And then, you will now proceed to the expenses. These expenses. Okay. So, salaries, expense, travel, expense, advertising, expense, insurance, expense, utilities, expense, and miscellaneous expense. So you are done with the unadjusted trial balance. Then you will go to your adjusting entries, which are there are also expenses that are not present on the given unadjusted trial balance. So you will write them. So rent expense is not present. So isulat nimo na. Supplies expense is also not present. Depreciation expense for building, and depreciation expense for cooking equipment. And then salaries expense is already given sa trial balance. So dili na nimo siya apilon, hindi mo na siya isasali to write it down. Kaya na write na nimo siya sa imuhang worksheet. And then the interest expense. So you will write here rent expense, and then supplies expense, and then depreciation expense for building, and depreciation expense for cooking equipment. Then your interest expense, dahil si salaries expense is present na siya sa given trial balance. Andito siya, oh. Salaries expense. Grabe ka shaky ang kamot. Wala stabilizer ko cellphone class. Okay. So now, what will be the next step is on the unadjusted trial balance, you will write these amounts. Dapat, kung cash, dyan siya sa cash. Kung accounts receivable, ito. So, lahat ng mga amounts na ito, you will write it down here in connection with the account title. Hindi mo lang ila-write diha na pataka lang, no? So, you will write it in connection with the account. So, as you can see, cash is 504. So, you will write, here is the cash. You will write it on the debit, which is 504. Okay. Because this is the debit side and the credit side. So you will all write it down now. So for accounts receivable, it is 789,000. And then for the prepaid rent, it is 144,000. So on and so forth. So kung ano ang accounts na nandito and then ano ang amounts niya, ito rin ang ilalagay mo dito. Okay? So you will proceed to cooking supplies. Okay, cooking supplies in the amount of 357,000. For the land, it's, so ito si land. So you will write land here. So 530,000. For the building, it is 1,250,000. And then for the accumulated depreciation for building, which is on the credit side, because as you can see, ito yun, no? Accumulated depreciation for building 413, so it's on the credit side. So you will write 413,000, and then so on and so forth, class. So write ko lang, ha. Okay, 870,000 for the cooking equipment, and then accumulated depreciation is 212,000, and the notes payable is 1,400,000, and then for accounts payable is 117,000. And then as you can see, hindi ba, meron tayong salaries payable dito at interest payable, pero wala pa siyang amount on the given unadjusted trial balance. So hindi mo siya lalagyan ng amount for the unadjusted trial balance column. You will now proceed to the capital, which is hindi ba dito pagkatapos ng accounts payable, directly kang pupunta sa palaganas capital in the amount of 1,435,000. So you will write it katapat ng palaganas capital. So ito yun. So you will write 1,435,000 on the credit side because it is on the credit side, and also the normal balance of your capital is on the credit side. Next, you will proceed to the withdrawal in the amount of 240,000. And then for the cooking revenue, which is 2,256,000. And then now, you will now proceed to your interest. So, write mo si interest. Expenses pala. So, you will start with salaries expense. So, salaries expense on the debit side. So, 619,000. 127,000 for the travel expense. 215,000 for the advertising expense. 40,000 for the insurance expense. Utilities expense is 102,000, and miscellaneous expense is 46,000. So that is your unadjusted trial balance. Okay, that is one. So as you can see, etong mga account title na to is makikita mo siya sa yung adjusting entries. That is why wala siyang amount to your unadjusted trial balance. And also, hindi din naman given yung amount niya dito sa problem from the unadjusted trial balance. So, ang inyong gagawin is kung anong account title ang merong amount na given on the unadjusted trial balance, yun lang din ang ita-transfer mo dito sa worksheet mo on the column unadjusted trial balance. Okay. So, you will now proceed to the total. So, the total given here is 5,833,000. So, you will write 5,833,000 on the debit and 5,833,000 on the credit. And do not forget your double roll. Okay, because the double roll connotes that the debit and the credit are balanced. Okay, now we will proceed to the adjustment column. So for the adjustment column, you will now use the adjusting entries that you've made from the given problem. Diba? Dito sa problem, ito yung mga adjustments mo. Ito yan. Okay? And then this will be your entries for the adjustments. Now, we will start with rent expense and prepaid rent. For the rent expense, it is on the debit side in the amount of 72,000. Then, you will go back to your worksheet. This is your rent expense. This is the column for adjustments. This is the debit side. So, you will write the amount for rent expense, 72,000, on the debit side. So, 72,000 on the debit side. So, as you can see, nasa debit side siya. Now, the credit side for this entry is the prepaid rent. So, hanapin mo si prepaid rent sa account title mo. Punta ka sa adjustments column. And then, proceed ka sa credit side. Dahil dito sa entry, naka-credit siya in the amount of 72,000. So, you will write the 72,000 on the credit side. So, that is for the first entry. Now, we will proceed to the second entry of your adjustments, the supplies. So, as you can see, here is your supplies expense. And supplies expense is also on the debit side. On the debit side in the amount of 332,000. So you will write here 332,000. Okay? So, and then the credit side is the cooking supplies. So you will find cooking supplies up here for the position of the assets. So this is your cooking supplies. You will proceed to the adjustments column and you will proceed to the credit side because it is on the credit side on your adjustments in the amount of 332. So you will write 332,000. Next, we will proceed to the third adjusting entries, which is your depreciation expense for building and accumulated depreciations for building in the amount of 28,000. So first, we will go to your depreciation expense. Here is your depreciation expense on your worksheet. Punta ka sa iyong adjustment column and punta ka sa debit side because it is on the debit side on your adjusting entries. It is 28,000. And now, you will proceed to your accumulated depreciation. Punta ka sa adjustment column. Punta ka sa credit side kasi naka-credit side siya on your adjusting entries in the amount of 28,000. Okay? Now, next, for the fourth entry, the same process. Depreciation expense for cooking equipment and accumulated depreciation for cooking equipment. So, this is your cooking equipment. You'll go to adjustment column and proceed to the debit side in the amount of 52,000. And you will find the accumulated depreciation for cooking equipment. Go to the adjustment column. Go to the credit side because it is on the credit side, and you will write the 52,000. Okay? Now, proceed on the fifth adjusting entries, the salaries expense and salaries payable. So, salaries payable in the amount of 27,000. Okay. So, salaries expense, andito siya sa taas. Okay. Salaries expense, punta ka sa adjustments. Then, you'll proceed to debit because it is on the debit side and you will write 27,000. So, next is the salaries payable. So, the salaries payable, andito siya sa taas in the liabilities account. So, hanapin mo si salaries payable. Punta ka sa adjusting entries, adjustment column, and then proceed to the credit side because it is in the credit side in the amount of 27,000. Now, lastly, the sixth entry for your adjustment, it is the interest expense and interest payable in the amount of 252,000. So, you will first find the interest expense. This is the interest expense. You will proceed to the adjustment column to the debit side because it is a debit side on the adjusting entries. And you will write the amount 252,000. And then you will proceed to interest payable. Proceed to adjustment entries and go to credit side in the amount of 252,000. So, if you are done entering your entries, these entries, to your adjustment column, okay, adjustment column mo yan. So, these amounts are from your adjusting entries. Now, you will total this credit side and this debit side. So, i-add mo silang lahat on the credit side. So, you will get 763,000. And then, if you will add credit side, then you will have 763,000. Remember, class, the unadjusted trial balance should be balanced. And then, the adjustments, pag itinotal mo, dapat balanse pa rin silang dalawa. And do not forget to put the double rule in, ibig sabihin, balanse na ang iyong adjustments. So, you are done with the unadjusted trial balance and your adjustments. So, what you will be doing is you will now present the adjusted trial balance. It means that, okay, the amounts here on unadjusted trial balance, if wala siyang na-adjust, copy mo siya dyan. The same with the cash. You see, ang cash, if you can see in the adjustments, wala siyang amounts in the adjustments. Zero, wala siya dito. then you will copy the amount from the unadjusted trial balance. The same with the account receivable. Walang nangyaring adjustment sa kanya, so you copy the amount from the unadjusted trial balance. And then, in the prepaid rent, as you can see, meron siyang unadjusted trial balance na 144,000 and then meron siyang adjustments na 72,000. Remember class, the normal balances of your accounts. For asset, it is on the debit side, liabilities is on the credit side, capital is on the credit side, withdrawal is on the debit side, revenue is on the credit side, and expenses are on the debit side. So for example, if you have this one on the prepaid rent is a asset. So if it is an asset, the normal balance is on the debit side. And as you can see, if you are to forward on the adjustment column, meron kang makikitang 72,000 on the credit side. So it means that from the normal balance debit side, you will deduct the credit side 72,000. So this is the process. For the cash, wala sang adjustment. So copy mo si 404,000. And then for the accounts receivable, wala din siyang adjustment. So you will copy the 789,000. Okay, 789,000. And then on the prepaid rent, which is 144 on the debit and on the credit is 72,000, it means i-deduct mo siya. So you will get 72,000. 144,000 minus the 72,000, you will get 72,000. And then, pag i-write mo siya sa adjusted trial balance, you will use the normal balance. So, the normal balance of the prepaid rent is on the debit side. So, ang equal ng amount is you will write on the debit side. Or if hindi mo talaga memorize yung mga normal balances ng mga accounts, i-base mo siya sa unadjusted trial balance. As you can see, prepaid rent is written on the debit side. Then, you will minus the 72 on the credit side. Then, the amount na makukuha mo, you will write it on the debit side. Okay? Now, we will proceed to the cooking supplies. As you can see, cooking supplies is 357,000 on the debit side. Now, when you proceed to adjustments, it has an amount of 332,000 on the credit side. So, it means you will deduct the two amounts. And then, if you deduct the two amounts, ang makukuha mong amount dyan or the equal amount is you will write it on the debit side because it is the normal balance of a cooking supplies because it is a asset. And if hindi mo alam ang normal balance, base mo siya dito. So, 357,000 minus 332,000 is equal to 25,000. Okay. Proceed ka to the next. 25,000. Nasa debit side siya. Proceed ka on the next, the land. So, as you can see, wala rin siyang activities on the adjustment. So, you will copy the 530,000. And then for the building, wala rin siyang activities on the adjustment. So, you will copy it on the adjusted trial balance. So, when you are copying amounts, kapag walang activity dito sa adjustments, kung naka-debit siya on the unadjusted trial balance, dapat naka-debit din siya on the adjusted trial balance. Okay, now, you will proceed to accumulated depreciation. Okay. As you can see, the normal balance of the accumulated depreciation, which is a contra account of the building, meaning nag-depreciate, nagbaba ng value, di ba na-explain ko naman tong mga accumulated depreciation on the separate video on the adjustments, deferral, depreciation, andun yung mga explanation about this one, the accumulated depreciation. So, bumaba ang value mo ng 28,000, bumaba ang value ng building mo. So as you can see, the normal balance of accumulated depreciations, which are contra account, is on the credit side. And then when you proceed to your adjustments, naka-credit side din siya. So if it is on the same side, the credit and the credit, it means that you will add both of the amounts. So when you add 413,000 to 28,000, you will get 441,000. So if it is on the credit and on the credit, then you will put this on the credit on the column adjusted trial balance, 441,000. Now you will proceed to the next account, which is the cooking equipment. But as you can see, no activities for the cooking equipment on the adjustment column. So, copy mo siya. Nasa debit siya dyan. So, you will write it on the debit side in the amount of 870,000. Now, we will proceed to your accumulated depreciation for cooking equipment. So, in the amount of 212,000, merong credit side na 52,000. So, the same process with these two, add mo sila dahil pareho silang naka-credit. Credit on the unadjusted trial balance and credit on the adjustment. So, you will add them and you will write the amount na makukuha mo on the credit side in the amount of 264,000. Okay? Wait, now, we will proceed to your notes payable. On the notes payable, walang activities na nangyari in adjustments. So, it is on the credit side, then you will write it down on the credit side in the amount of 1,400,000. The same on what is happening with the accounts payable. Wala din siyang activities on the adjustment. So, you will copy the amount to the credit side dahil naka-credit siya sa unadjusted trial balance. So, i-credit mo siya on the adjusted trial balance. So, 117,000. Okay. So, on the salaries payable, if you notice, wala siyang amount dito. Dahil hindi siya given sa problem sa unadjusted trial balance. Pero, may amount siya on the adjustments. At saan siya nakalagay? On the credit side. So, you will copy this amount from the credit side. Kung walang activities dito walang amounts dito sa unadjusted trial balance, pero meron siyang amounts on the adjustments, then you will copy that amount to your adjusted trial balance. Especially if siya lang isa, wala siyang debit, wala siyang debit at wala siyang amount dito sa adjusted trial balance. So, you will write it down, this amount 27 on the credit side. So, 27,000. The same with interest payable. Wala siyang amount dito sa unadjusted trial balance, pero meron siyang amount on the adjustment. It means this amount, you will copy it to your adjusted trial balance on the credit side dahil naka-credit siya sa adjustments. Okay, that one. We will now proceed to your capital. In your capital, meron siyang amount on the unadjusted trial balance on the credit side and wala siyang activities on the adjustment. So, you will write the amount of the capital on the credit side, which is 1,435,000. 1,435,000. And then, you will now proceed to the next account, Palaganas Withdrawal. So, meron siyang amount on the unadjusted trial balance on the debit side and wala siyang activities on the adjustment. So, copy mo lang siya. Nandito siya sa debit, then you will write it on the debit side. So, 204,000. Now, you will proceed to cooking revenue. So, as you can see, cooking revenue has an amount in unadjusted trial balance on the credit side. No activities on adjustments. So, you will copy this amount from the credit side and you will write it on the credit side. So, the amount is 2,256,000. Okay? Now, Next is the salaries expense. As you can see, salaries expense has unadjusted trial balance has an amount of 619,000. And when you proceed to your adjustment, meron siyang 27,000 na amount. So if it is on the debit side, then it is on the debit side also. So add mo silang dalawa, ang makukuha mong amount ilalagay mo sa debit side kasi ang normal balances ng expenses is on the debit side. And then you will get 646,000. 646,000. And then, the same with the salaries, travels, advertising and insurance, utilities and miscellaneous. Meron silang mga amounts dito sa unadjusted trial balance, pero walang amounts dito sa adjustments. It means na copy mo lang to from the debit and you will write it on the debit on your adjusted trial balance. So, you will copy 127,000, 215,000, 40,000, 102,000, and 46,000. Next, you are done with the travel expense up to miscellaneous. Meron siyang amount sa unadjusted trial balance. Now, you will proceed to rent expenses and interest expenses, which are, meron silang amount sa adjustments pero wala silang amount sa unadjusted trial balance. So, it means na dito, itong mga amount na ito, from the debit side of your adjustment, you will forward it to your adjusted trial balance on the debit side. So, copy mo lang itong mga amount, forward mo dyan. So, 72,000, 332,000, 28,000, 52,000, 252,000. So, you are done transferring amounts from unadjusted trial balance, then adjustments to the unadjusted trial balance. Okay. Class, if you notice, kapag naka-credit siya dito at naka-credit siya dyan, is you will add. Then you will put the amount on the credit also. But, if the amount is, example on the cash, meron siyang adjustments dito sa debit and meron siyang adjustment on the credit. So, if the debit on the unadjusted trial balance plus the debit on the adjustment minus the credit side. So, kapag hindi niya normal balance dito sa adjustments, minus mo siya. So, as you can see, normal balance man ni accumulated depreciation ang credit. So, add siya. And then, normal balance then din ni salaries expense ang debit. So, add silang dalawa dahil para silang debit. Pero kapag may credit dyan, deduct mo ang credit amount. Kasi hindi niya yon normal balance. So, this is your unadjusted trial balance. And then, do not forget na i-total itong mga amounts na ito. So, when you total these amounts on the debit, you will get 6,192,000. And when you total the amounts on the credit, you will also get 6,192,000. So, balance silang dalawa. So, balancing amounts mo on the debit and balancing amounts mo on the credit. Now, we will proceed to your column income statement and balance sheet. So, in your income statement, ang ilalagay mong mga amounts is from the accounts income and expenses. And then, on the balance sheet, ang ilalagay mong mga amounts are from the accounts assets, liabilities, and owner's equity. So, as you can see, from your adjusted and unadjusted trial balance, okay. Okay. So, disregard mo na to kasi tapos mo na tong isolve to here. So, itong adjusted trial balance ang gagamitin mong mga amounts to make your income statement and balance sheet. So, remember, for the income statement, you are to forward the amounts from the accounts income and expenses, or income or revenue. Okay. For this, dahil that is why kung nagsusulat ka ng account title on your trial balance and on your worksheet, dapat naka-order siya from assets, liabilities, owner's equity, income or revenue, and then expenses. Dahil mabilis mo na siyang i-transfer to your income statement and to your balance sheet. So, this is your income or revenue, and these are your expenses. These are the amounts, the adjusted amounts na siya, no, kay nasa adjusted trial balance naman siya. So, you will copy these amounts to your income statement. If naka-credit siya, you will write it on the credit side of the income statement column. And if it is on the debit side, you will write it on the debit side on the income statement column. So, you will write 2,256,000 because it is on the credit, then you will write it on the credit. And then these amounts are on the debit, then you will write it on the debit on your income statement column. So if you are done writing, so we are done writing now the debits account of the supplies, the expenses from the adjusted trial balance to your income statement. So eto na yon. Okay, these amounts. So you will total the amounts from the credit side and the debit side. So, when you total, so ito lang naman siya yung amounts na nandito. So, forward mo siya dyan sa baba, 2,256,000. And then, when you total the amounts on the debit side, you will get 1,912,000. As you can see, these are not balance amounts. So, leave it there because we are not yet done. We are to proceed to the last column of the worksheet, which is the balance sheet. So, the amounts that you will forward in the balance sheet from the adjusted trial balance are from the accounts assets, liabilities, and owner's equity. These are the accounts. So, these are your assets, these are your liabilities, and these are your owner's equities. So, kung ano ang mga amounts ng mga accounts dito hanggang withdrawal is from the column adjusted trial balance is you will forward it to your balance sheet. So, we will start writing. So, the debit side is 504,000 for cash, 789,000 for accounts receivable, 72,000 for prepaid rent, 25,000, 530,000, 1,250,000. So, you are done with the debit side. Now, meron siyang isang credit side. Then, you will also write it on the credit side, which is 441,000. And then, balik ka sa debit kasi meron siyang debit na 870. So, you will write 870 on the debit side on the column balance sheet. Now, you will proceed to the credit side with the amount of 264,000, 1,400,000, 117,000, 27,000, 252,000, and then 1,435,000, and then lastly the 204,000. So as you can see, okay, ito yung mga accounts nang galing kang cash hanggang kang withdrawal on the column adjusted trial balance, finorward mo sa balance sheet na column. And then, what you will be doing if you are done transferring accounts from the assets, liabilities, and owner's equity to your balance sheet is you will total the credit amounts and the debit amounts. So, when you total those amounts on the credit amount, you will, on the debit side, you will get 4,280,000, and then on the credit side is 3,936,000. Okay. So you will put a line in there. So you can see this is the credit side and this is the debit side for the balance sheet. So as you can see, hindi pa rin balanse ang mga amounts. So you will now proceed to the next step, which is ang 4,280,000, you will minus it to 3,936,000, then you will get 344,000, right? And then here, from 2,256,000 minus the 1,912,000, you will also get 344,000. If you get the same amounts in deducting the credit side and the debit side on your income statement and the debit side and the credit side on your balance sheet, if makuha mo siya, balanse sila, pareho silang dalawa, it means balanse ang iyong worksheet and then check ang iyong worksheet. Now, the last step for the worksheet, last na to class, you will put the double roll and then you will add 3,936,000 to 344,000, then you will get 4,280,000. Then, etong 4,280,000 dito, lagay mo siya dito. 480,000. So, balanse na silang dalawa on the balance sheet. Now, you will proceed to your income statement column. So, you will add these two amounts. Then, you will get 2,256,000. And then, this 2,256,000, forward mo siya dito. 2,256,000. So, as you can see, balanse ang iyong income statement and the same amount siya dito. And also, you will also see that the company Remedios Palaguas Gourmet Food is in profit. Why? Because the credit side on the income statement, which is the revenue less the expenses, or the debit side on the income statement, is 344 ang iyong nakuha. Meaning, malaki yung kanyang revenue compared to your expenses. So, gaining ng profit ang iyong company or the Remedios Palaguas Gourmet Food. So, this is your worksheet. Hindi masyadong klaro. Okay, so this is your worksheet. Account title, adjusted, unadjusted trial balance, adjustments, adjusted trial balance, income statement, and balance sheet. So that would be all for today, class. I hope you've learned a lot on creating or completing your worksheet from the given adjusted trial balance up to the completing the worksheet. So, there are also some activities or problems nga given na nanggaling ka talaga sa journal entry up to journal entry, general ledger, trial balance, and then from that trial balance, that is your unadjusted trial balance. And then, you will have your adjustments, then you will proceed to your worksheet. This worksheet na dayon. So that would be all for today, class. See you on the next video. Goodbye.